Recording in progress. Right, good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. And welcome to the first UCAT Masterclass of June, which is VR and QR. So you're joined by myself, Kareem, and Kushi. Wave everyone, Kushi. And we're here to sort of give you a head start on what you need to know about the UCAT, particularly on the VR and QR sections. Now, if it's your first time applying, don't worry. If it's your, second time taking the UCAT, don't worry. If you haven't started doing questions or you have started a little bit, this is generally for anyone wherever stage you're at. So without further ado, if you're new here, welcome to the Medentors community. We've got three branches, which is our academy, our admissions, and our schools. So our academy is the tuition aspect, helping you get, the best grades possible in your GCSEs and A levels. The admissions is what we're doing today, which is that mentorship that helps you get into medicine or dentistry. And then also we do work with schools and communities on a local level. So if you are looking for us to visit your school, do email us at team@medentals.co.uk, and let's see if can get something sorted. And so far, we worked with over 3,500 students across 40 schools and organizations, and around 90% of people who do work with us get a medical or dental offer. Now, I'm going to pass on to Kushi, who is going to introduce the different sections, and then go on to VR before I'll take over at QR later on. So, yeah.
Okay, so just like a little overview to the UCAT. So you have three main subsections, which is verbal reasoning, which is sort of like the comprehensions where you get given like a text and a passage, and then you get given a question and some four multiple choice options, which you have to pick which is the correct answer. Then the second part is decision making, and that's sort of like logical puzzles and logical reasoning that you have to do. And the third type is quantitative reasoning, so that's the more maths part of it. And it's sort of it's not really like the maths you get assessed to like in school. It's sort of like quick being able to do it in your head, sort of mental maths. um that's what they're testing you out of. So each part of this is out of 900. So 900 for each of the section, which gives you a total marks of 2,700. And then you do have this fourth subsection, which is situational judgment, and that sort of it's more testing you on your ethics. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with the good medical practice or the good dental practice. So that's what sort of the fourth section is based out of. And this is, you're not given points for that. It's assessed through bands. We have band 1 to band 4, and the highest band is band 1, and your lowest is band 4. So each university, depending on what you like apply to, will have a criteria where they look at your points, and they'll either want a band 1 or a band 2. Depending on where you apply, you can look at that on like each of the universities' criterias. Mm. Okay, so just a little like advice for the UCAT. So 6 to 8 weeks is sort of the optimum like prep time that most people recommend. I think any more time, you'll sort of end up like burning yourself out. And if you're any less time, it's just too little time to prepare for it. It is an aptitude test. So with the more practice that you do, the better you'll get, and you'll see better results as you do more time pressured like practice as well. And like I said, like the main thing about this is just like reflecting on what you're best at. So out of the three subsections that I talked about, seeing what your strengths are, seeing what your weaknesses are, then focusing on those weaknesses, because with time, the more different types of questions you do, you will see some progress like over time with more practice that you do. So this is just like sort of the recommended advice. Then it is up to you at the end of the day how much time you want to dedicate in your summer holidays, whether it's 6 weeks, whether it's 8 weeks. But this is sort of what most candidates spend their time preparing. I sort of did around the shorter. I spent fewer weeks on the UCAT, but that was because I was doing more like intense prep every day. I spent most of my day doing just UCAT, and that was just something that worked for me. Like I just preferred preparing for a shorter amount of time, but doing more intense practice and then getting it over with. Can I have the next slide, please? Yeah, so here it recommends like the average student will do around 2 to 3 hours per day across those 6 to 8 weeks. 8 weeks of summer. Like I said, I spent more than that per day and I did it in a shorter a few weeks. That's just something that's how I study and how I work. So really think about like, are you able to dedicate more hours in the day? Do you think you work and perform better that way? It is an aptitude test. You have to be at like, your A game when doing that. So sort of the however you want to do your time split, that's up to you. I would say start with like the third, so whatever, however many like weeks you want to dedicate to start with the first half of those doing untimed practice. So on these like platforms that you have like Medify, you'll have those like massive question bags. It's got like a ridiculous amount of questions that I just don't think it's possible to work through like all of them. But just start by doing that. Get familiar with the different question types. What you'll find is like within the each of the different subsections, you have like a certain type of questions that they ask, and they just sort of like they're just framed differently each and every time. So once you start getting familiar with, okay, so in verbal reasoning, they're going to ask these sort of questions. In decision making, they're going to ask these sort of questions. Just start getting familiar with it and seeing if you know the method, the technique behind it. I think there are so many like good YouTube videos you can watch for this to figure out what the different question types are, and they'll just explain it all to you if you're like ever confused about what method to use. So that's just beginning with untimed practice. So you're familiar with the different question types. And then you should start moving on to time practice, seeing if you can work under that time pressure, because timing is very key. You genuinely do not have enough time to answer the questions. It's very fast paced. You have to be skimming and scanning. Then move on to doing the mini mocks. And in the mini mocks, see like then start like noting down, okay, so this question type I struggle with, or maybe this is my weaker section. Then you can go back to the untimed questions and then attempt those again and again until you see some progress with that. So the mini mocks are really useful for that. And then you can move on to doing those full mocks. So you'll have on these platforms, you'll have all the full mocks on that. And then you'll also have the proper full mocks on the UCAT website themselves. I recommend saving the ones that are on the UCAT website like closer to your exam, because that's the closest thing you have that replicates your exam. Like all the other mocks are really good for practice and they try their best to replicate it, but the ones on the UCAT website are the best. So save that until you feel like you're most confident, or like you feel more ready, or it's closer to your exam so you can see how you're going to do um, with those then. And yeah, also do make sure you're enjoying yourself in summer, because it's an aptitude test. You want to like be like you're not burnt out. You want to be on your best like A game. So do take some breaks, do relax, do something to enjoy yourself as well, like exercise, meeting your friends, going to watch a movie, something, just to keep your mind out of it. And the next slide, please. Okay, so we have some UCAT stats over here for the average. So for the verbal reasoning, you can see it's 601, decision making 620, quantitative reasoning 649. So out of this, what can we sort of see? Can anyone make any comments from what you can see from the three sections? What are you able to notice? You can put it in the chat. Okay, I'll let any comments. Quantitative reasoning, yeah, yeah, very good. VR is the hardest. Yeah, so on average, people are performing lower on the verbal reasoning compared to the quantitative reasoning. So what does that tell us? Verbal reasoning is what people find the hardest, and that was what I found the hardest as well in my exam. So I can like vouch for this. So with the quantitative reasoning, since like most candidates, that is their strongest section, it just means you have to like it's good if you're getting average, but you really have to push yourself to do better than that, because that's really very much a scoring section. Okay. And for the verbal reasoning, like people do find it very hard on average, but it is just doing as much practice as you can on that, because those extra marks will set you out from the other candidates if everyone's doing well in quantitative reasoning, if everyone's doing well in decision making. So that sort of thing will help you stand out. Okay, yeah, and sort of the average scores. A strong score is 2,100, so that's around 700 per section. But aiming for like the higher end, which is around the 750 mark per section, will set you off. Will put you in like the top candidates with the top performances. So yeah, that's just something to bear in mind.
I do want to add something here that a lot of people neglect, which is most students will struggle with VR, right? and they will spend half the time just trying to get their VR score up, and it just does not go up for some reason. It's not, or it goes up by a little bit. And those same students are the ones who probably do maths for A level, or they're probably good at maths. So they get a high QR score, which they think balances the VR. But then those same students, they neglect DM. They forget DM exists. And DM is just like that middle child that gets ignored. And you don't want to just ignore DM because DM has the most potential for every single UCAT applicant. I've seen that. We've seen that in our students. We've seen that in ourselves. If you work on DM and not neglect it, it does have that potential where you can really increase your score with it because don't just focus on just VR and then leave QR because you know you're good at maths. Focus on DM as well. That's a it's sort of it's there for you to basically improve your points and improve your score.
Yeah, and with the decision making, there's only a certain type of questions that they can ask you. So if you go through each of those question types, figure out a good method for that, you should be able to answer that and you can like improve your score massively for that as well. Okay, so I'll just focus on the verbal reasoning sort of section. So like I mentioned before, it's basically the comprehension or the passage that you get given and the question options below. And this is just testing your ability to critically analyze and interpret that written information. There's so much information going on, and it's not just like easy text. They try and trick you. They try and put in like contradictions within the same passage. And from that, you have to like infer and like answer those questions based off that. Yeah, so you have to be able to recognize the patterns from that and be able to skim and scan really, really quickly and be able to extract the key information. So just sort of the timings for that, you have 22 minutes and you have 44 questions. So that's 30 seconds for like each and every question. And it's only 1 mark per question. So I'll just touch on like why this is important in the next slide now. Yeah, so this is the most challenging section of the UCAT with the lowest average scores. And there are two main question types. You have the options of true, false, and you can't tell, or you're going to have the comprehension where it's going to ask you something like something about like something to infer from the text or what it's telling you. And you really have to be able to like triage and look for the most like important questions or the easiest questions out of the bunch. And using Alt F, that just like sort of flags it, and then you can come back to it at the end if you have more time. Um, so yeah, definitely like when you're practicing for your UCAT, I definitely recommend using those keyboard shortcuts, and also try using like the number pad one as well. Try and use that proper same format that you get given in your exam at home if you can replicate that, because you'll get used to the keyboard a lot and it'll help you save time. It's pretty efficient in your exam. So this is sort of the strategy. It's called scans, and I use that in my UCAT exam as well. So just begin by don't bother reading that massive passage first. It like you're not going to be able to retain all that information. You don't know what the question is. You don't know what you're looking for, and you're going to have to go back and read it anyways. So what I recommend doing is read over the question first, skim and understand it. Do a quick look through the answer options. Don't bother reading it all. Just scan your eyes down just to have a general idea of what you're looking for. And in that question, see what it's asking for. Is it a fact? Are you trying to infer something, or is it an exception? Okay. And they'll throw in loads of negative language like never, not always. So be really careful with the use of these absolute words. And the reason for this is because the absolute words, they're rarely ever going to be true, because the passage will always like mostly contain exceptions as well. So be very careful. They've thrown that in purpose. They've thrown that in on purpose to sort of throw you off as well. So look out for absolutes is something I'd say. Um, yeah, the second is, so once you've like gone and read over the question, you've scanned for your like keywords, you know what you're looking for, then skim through the passage. Don't read it all at once. Just scan your eyes, look for the correct paragraph, like that has your answer in, and then read read that sentence, but then also read the sentence above it and below it, because there could be a a contradiction within that. So you need to make sure you've covered it like thoroughly enough so you know whether there's a contradiction or not. So read that sentence, read the one above it, and read the one below it. Okay, nothing else. You don't need the extra information. You're not going to be able to retain it for now. And then yeah, just pick out those keywords that I've mentioned before, and be careful because they can use synonyms as well. So have like a rough idea in your mind of those related words, just so you know where they're placed and just to come back for. And yeah, here's a really big trap that they put in there, especially with the two options. You have false and then you have cannot tell. So they sound really similar, don't they? Because if it's not true, if it's going to be false, you can't tell. It's very easy to fall into that trap. So with that, so false is that the passage is explicitly said that something is not true. That's what false means. But with cannot tell, it's that the passage hasn't given us enough information to be able to make the conclusion whether it's true or not. That's what cannot tell is. There's a very like fine line between the two, but you need to be able to distinguish between them. And yeah, and with the false and the cannot tell, be careful you're not bringing in your own outside knowledge from it. So if you know something is false but the passage doesn't say it, you can't just put that as an option. You have to use what the passage has given you. So that's something they like to do with that. Yeah, another thing is that some of the correct answers are often like paraphrased. So be careful as with that as well with the wording. And yeah, something I did in my exam was I noticed that I think it was like one of the first or two question sets that I was given, they were really long. Like I had to literally like scroll down with my mouse and scroll to the bottom of the page. But you know that each and every question is worth the exact same amount of marks. So I just flagged it and moved on. And I did the shorter passages first. And I was managed to finish them much more quickly. And then I came back to the other longer passages when I had time at the end. And with that, you're making sure you're getting the most marks out of the exam as you can, because with a longer passage, you don't know if you've read all the information. You don't know whether you've understood it all. So it's better just to do those shorter passages first. Guarantee yourself those marks, and then you can go back and attempt those longer passages if you have spare time. So yeah, selecting and skipping is just the best thing. And I would flag it, but I would also maybe, if you've roughly had a read of it and you don't really know what the answer is, or you're stuck between two options, I just still put an answer and I'll just move on and flag it, and I'll come back to it at the end if I have enough time. But if not, at least I've got an answer down there, and you have a 25% chance of getting it right, which is better than nothing if you just skipped it completely. Yeah, all of the questions are going to be worth the exact same number of points. And is there an easy way to answer true or false questions? It's you just have to, like I said, look for those keywords in the text, in the question, and go back to and read the sentence above and below. Okay, so it's just distinguish between false and cannot tell is the main the way they try and trip you up in that. I think yeah, that's everything I have for VR. Okay. Yeah, we have a question. Would anyone like to volunteer themselves to attempt this, or you can sort of give it a go in the chat? But it'd be nice if somebody puts their hands up and is willing to give this a go. No. Okay. I can go through this then. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by reading the question first. So according to the passage, this place is known for, and then I have four different options. I've roughly scanned it. The first says soil, then we have truffles, then we have black truffles, then we have like the price of the truffles. Okay, so I've roughly got that in my head. Then I'm just gonna skim. Um, yeah, just go through it all. Yeah. So today Tyrol is the world's biggest producer of the Prince of Black truffles. So here we have our answer. So I've gone, that sort of tells me about the truffles, gone through the sentence after it. Last year, the region exported more than this many kg of them. And I read the sentence before it was how to farm the fungus takes around 10 years. So having that in mind, we have our answer option, which is highest production of black truffles. So that's sort of the approach that I would take when with answering these sort of questions. So yeah, do you have any questions? I think that's everything for the VR section. Okay, I have somebody who doesn't understand the approach. Yeah. So with that, what I started off by doing was I just read the question first. So it's saying, according to the passage, Teruel is known for, and then I'm sort of just skimming over the answers. So the first sort of talked about the quantity of soil, then the second is talking about the consumption of truffles, then C is the production of the truffles, and D is sort of the price of the truffles. So we're sort of looking for the keywords soil, truffles, consumption, like whatever is in the answer options. Then starting by reading off the passage. So the first one, as a child, it's giving sort of like a backstory to it. It's not really useful to us. Okay. Then we're going to move on to the second paragraph, and I'm scanning again, and then it's talking about the production of those truffles. Okay, that's something that I'm highlighting in my head. So today, Tyrol is the world's biggest producer of the black truffles that we have. So then you read a sentence above it and below it to see if there's any other information or any other like contradictory information that's been given to us. So the sentence above it is just giving us the time frame, which is around 10 years for the trees to produce it. And the answer, like the sentence after that, is telling us how much it exports, which is 26,000 kg. So, like, with that information in my mind, it's not told me about the soil. It's not told me about anything related to do with the consumption. It's not told me about the price of it either. That leaves us with C, which is the production of the black truffles. It's told you it's the biggest producer. So that's sort of the approach that you can use with VR.
So to summarize, Kushi, what she's saying is this scans approach is very important. We read the question first, right? We see as well, is this a long passage? Is it a short passage? We choose the keywords. So the keywords or the synonyms are about the soil, the consumption, the production of truffles, the price of truffles, and we skim for that in the passage. And then once we get to something around that, so this is the sentence, we read around. So the sentence before and after. So A, you anchor your reading around that. And then obviously, if there's any extra information or contradictory information, you base it off on that. Do you read more or do you just pick one and move on? The other thing as well is that Kushi mentioned is the outside knowledge, which is something to be very careful on. But once you get an answer, just pick it, and if you have doubts and it's not so obvious, then do flag it, but move on because you don't have time. This is only half the passage. You don't have time to read the whole passage again and check and waste 15 valuable seconds. Just pick it, flag it, and move on. You'll have four questions in that set, right? You'll have a passage with four questions to each passage. So it might be that this is the first question. And the second question, when you're rereading, you find something else and it's blatantly obvious that the first one was wrong. So you can go back, right? So there is that little strat as well, because you don't want to spend that extra time, 10, 15 seconds, trying to prove the first question, is it B or C, for example, when you can go to question two, and whilst you're reading for question two and you realize that question one is actually wrong, you can go back to it, quickly fix it, and go back to question two. But you need to identify what question two is. So it's little things like that that can save you time, that can save you accuracy, and you'll pick those things along the way. Truffles is repeated a lot. That's why you have a couple of the phrases, a couple of the keywords that you can pick. Trural is known for trural could be another keyword. It doesn't have to be soil or truffles. It could be a combination of all. So it could be Tyrol. Okay, I'm scanning for Tyrol, a town in Tyrol. I read before and after. Oh, okay. Yep, abundant wild truffles. Nothing relevant. Okay, Tyrol, cultivate. Nothing. tool again, and then it says biggest producer. So I find the word. So the word's been mentioned three times there. I read before and after, and then I find out what my answer is. It's C. So sometimes you might not get the keyword right. Sometimes it might be that you've got in it, the right keyword. It really depends on with because you guys will get better. Okay. Um, VR. Any questions about VR specifically, you can ask at the end. We have a Q&A panel in the end. So on to QR now. Right. VR is all about scanning. Okay, it's all about scanning, choosing a good keyword, and that scan strategy is pretty much all you need. QR is a bit different because it's the maths aspect. So you've got 36 questions in 26 minutes. That gives you around 40 seconds a question. The thing is with QR is you don't have to just because you don't take A-level maths doesn't mean that you're gonna screw up. You need anyone can do QR, like any year seven, literally from your school could do QR. But the thing that's pressuring is the time. The time pressure is really important. So the UCAT QR is unlike any maths exam. It's not about getting the maths right. It's about triaging. Okay. So the concept with QR is you don't need to get every single question right. You need to answer smartly. So what does that mean? A lot of you who are applying to medicine dentistry will be perfectionists. You'll be high achievers. You'll be getting top grades. And so you're gonna have probably big egos and want to get the question right. But the truth is you can't get every single question right in the UCAT. Just because, let's say you want to get 900 out of 900 points in QR. You don't need to get 36 out of 36. You need to get something like 32 or 33 out of 36. There is that scope for you to get a couple questions wrong and there's no negative marking either. So there is that scope for you to miss out a few questions if you need to. So what does that mean? Every single question is marked equally. It's not like one is marked with 4 marks and one is marked with 1 mark. They're all marked equally. And if that's the case, if I've got 36 questions and I've got a mix of easy, medium, and hard questions, then I know that I want to do the easy ones and the medium ones first before I do the hard ones because A, the easy and medium ones are the same amount of marks as the hard ones. And so why would I spend more time doing the hard ones? So I can get the accuracy right in those easy and medium ones. And B, if I spend time doing the hard ones, I'll waste time and I won't be able to do the easy and medium ones. And so people don't, if you understand this concept of whether a question is easy or hard, and I'll go on to what easy and hard looks like. If you understand this concept, then you will smash the QR. You will smash the whole UCAT if you understand this concept because there's easy and hard questions. They're all marked equally. Now, let's say I'm silly Kareem and I do the QR subsection and I get 22 out of 36, which is about 630. So I'm actually average or below average. And that's because I spent too long on three questions. I spent 3 4 minutes on those three questions each because they were hard. So I wasted half the time doing them. And then the other half of the time I got some easy ones. Oh, cool. But then I didn't manage to even finish the subsection. I didn't even manage to do all the questions. Whereas let's say I'm smart Kareem and I get 32 out of 36, or I get 30 out of 36, and I get 850 points. And I'll be able to do that because I've skipped the hard questions. I've skipped hard ones and I've banked all the easy ones. I've banked the rest. And there's only around 8 hard questions in QR. 8. And I've managed to do maybe 3 or 4 of them as well. So I haven't wasted my time. So the goal is you want to get more than 28 questions right in order to get 750 points and beyond. Now, someone's asking, How do you know if a question is easy or hard? What if I find all of them hard? Okay, this is the next slide now. There will be green flag questions and there will be red flag questions. Oh, we'll come back to this. We'll come back to this. There will be green flag questions and red flag questions. The red flag ones are the ones that there's a lot of text. There's multi-step calculator questions. There's weird units. There's just all sorts going on, right? Those ones, if you take 4 or 5 steps and the calculator's clunky and there's certain decimals and there's so much going on, those ones are the harder ones, right? Then there's the green flag questions, the easy ones, which are 1 or 2 steps, maybe 3 steps. But they're easy ones, they're straightforward. You look at it and you know exactly what to do. It's not like you have to figure out what you need to do. That's the red flag ones. And they're clean tables, they're clean bar charts, and so on and so forth. So that's basically those two types of questions. It's as simple as that. And if you're able to identify the green flag ones and do them, and then when you see the red flag ones, you skip them, right? You skip them and you can still come back to them later. Doesn't mean that you don't do them. You can still come back to them later, but just leave them till later when you have more time. Then you will be able to get more marks in less time. And that's all the UCAT is about. How can I get more accuracy with less time? And you just backtrack and you think, how can I do that? You do it by identifying the right type of questions that you need to do. This is across QR, VR, DM, across the three main subsections. But actually, QR is the one where I would say is the most important one because it will catch you. You'll be stuck trying to work out the maths and then you won't have noticed time has gone. So this is the other thing as well. The clock, right? People think the clock is their enemy in the UCAT, and it is, right? Time is ticking away 26 minutes, 25 minutes, 24 minutes, all the way down to 1 minute, 30 seconds, and then you're finished. Oh my days. The way that you can mitigate that is making the clock your ally. And this is what I mean by pace checkpoints. This is a strategy that we've made at Medentors, which is if you keep your eye on the clock, and you know how much each question is, how much each question should cost you in time, which each question should cost you about 40 seconds, then you'll use the clock to your advantage. What do I mean by that? In QR, there will be either standalone questions or sets of four. Okay, nothing in between. It's not like VR where there's true, false, can't tell, and then the comprehension. In QR, there's two types. It's just standalone, just one question on its own, or it's a section with 4 questions. Like it's one like question and then 4 questions that like 4 sub questions within that. Those 4 sub questions take 40 seconds each. That means it's 2 minutes and a half. Okay, let's round down to 2 minutes and a half. That means that I need to finish that set of 4 questions within 2.5 minutes. So I'm going to keep an eye on the clock in the top right corner, which is going to be on the on my screen. And it's going to be 26 minutes. Then it's going to go down to 23 and a half, 21. So I need to time myself, be like, okay, mentally, I'm at 26 minutes. The next stem needs to get done by 23 and a half. The next stem needs to be done by 21, by 18 and a half, and so on and so forth. And you keep checking the clock. People will lose out on time. And this is what I mean by reflection. Have you looked at the clock enough? Where have you spent your time? On Medify and Medentry, it will show you where you've spent your time. If you spent 4 minutes on a question, and actually, you need to look at that and be like, listen, I need to let go of this perfectionist nature because that's the only way I'll get it. So that's what we mean by timing, triage, and technique. But that's the way you do things with QR. Now, in terms of a QR example question, right? This is more of a green flag one because right away, okay, it's a nice clean table, okay, and you know the numbers aren't too complex. It's cool. Okay, it's going to take you 2 steps. Now, how might I do this? There are a couple people asking questions about the clock, reading questions out loud, all that. Do ask that at the end. Okay. But let's go through this. What's the most efficient way of doing this? How do I work it out? Okay, use a calculator. What's the answer? Is it A, B, C, or D? Ahmed Squared has said 81651 times 0.676. Yeah. So we s- we see, right, with 2016, the electorate, the people entitled to vote, right? 81,000. The turnout is the number of people who voted. So 67%. Haha, funny. So I can put my calculator and I can multiply that, right? I could put 81651 times 0.676. Or I can round down to 80,000, round up to 70,000, and do 80,000 times 70%, which is 56. And I can do that in my brain. 80 times 8 times 7, 56,000. And because I've estimated, I picked the one that's closest. So C is going to be the closest one. And the point of that is to show you guys that there are even niche little things that you can do to save time within the questions itself, not just as a subsection, but within the question itself. You can save that time. So I'll repeat it again, right? So electorate is the number of people who wish to vote. So 81,651. So it's asking me how many people voted the constituency. So not everyone is going to vote. The people who did show up to vote were around 67%. So 81,000 times 61% is going to be around 55,000. The reason why I know that is because if I round the 81,000 down to 80,000 and I round up the 67% to 70% and I do 70% of 80,000, I know it's 56,000. The closest answer is that. Now I can, in the UCAT, I will have access to a calculator on screen, and that calculator is going to let me, I can type the numbers. I can type in 81651 times 0.676. But then what happens if, or like you mistype a number and then you need to retype the whole thing again? It's just, you can save time by just rounding down, rounding up. And you can do that with this question because the answers are far apart. But the point of this is to show you guys you can save that time with estimation as well. And there's a lot more techniques we can do that can help. Someone has asked, can you explain what that you mean by the STEM thing? So what I mean by the STEM thing is there's a stem of questions, right? A stem of questions is four questions, okay? Four questions in the QR subsection. Each question we've identified is worth 40 seconds of time because there's 36 questions in 26 minutes. There's going to be 26 divided by 36, which is me one question, 40 seconds, okay? That means that I'm going to spend, for four questions, for 40 seconds, I'm going to spend 2 minutes and a half, okay? And I'm going to keep an eye on the clock and I'm going to count down each time. Okay, so 26 minutes is the start. I need to get the first stem of four questions done by 23 and a half, and so on and so forth. So you got to use the clock as your ally. It's like saying, okay, let's say um, I need to clean my room within 30 minutes. If you put a timer on and you keep an eye on the clock, you'll clean your room within 30 minutes. Whereas if you say you've got an hour, you'll clean it within an hour. It's like that expanding thing. So if you stress yourself and you're like, okay, I need to get this done in 2.5 minutes. Firstly, is it possible? And secondly, um, it pushes you to get it done, right? What technique should you use when checking answers? You should not check answers. Once you get the answer, you should, if you have doubts, flag it, which is basically you put a marker where you have to go back to it. You can flag it and you can move on, right? And then you can go back to it later if you've got time. But you shouldn't check your answers or double check. You don't have time for doing that. Someone has asked how, which is relevant. Okay, what if I find all the questions hard? There will be some easy questions. Out of those 36, at least half of them will be easy, very straightforward that you can do, right? It's just you haven't explored enough of the subsection to see is it easy, is it hard? And then there will be ones which you might consider hard, but actually the thing that considers is it hard or not is not just the red and green flag, but just think to yourself, can I do this in under 40 seconds or no? Can I do this one question? If you can't, then it's probably hard. And I'm not saying, oh, if it takes 45 seconds, or don't do it. No, like that's not what I mean. I'm saying, is it going to take you 2, 3, 4 minutes because you need to figure it out? Then that's a red flag. You need to move on from that question. Okay.
I had something to add with
So
the
yeah,
sorry, can I just quickly, yeah. I don't know if you mentioned this or not, but with the multi-step questions, if you do have a go at attempting them, I recommend writing down each of the answers that you get in your steps because some of the later questions, what they like to do is they ask you something you've already done in one of your steps before and you've already forgotten it and when you'd already worked out the answer before. So make sure you write down the answer that you got in each of those steps because it could come up as a question later on. I had that for one of my questions. So it's just a good tip to have.
yeah, definitely. And there are a lot of those niche tips that are sort of there that you will figure out yourself. But this process of reflection is writing down all those tips for yourself to remember. It's not about being like, oh, I got this question wrong because it was B and not C. That's not what reflection is. Reflection is where can I save the time? Where can I be more accurate? What are the little things that I need to do? Where am I spending most of my time? It's those questions that you need to be asking yourself. That's what reflection is. Right. So everything that we've said today and everything beyond that, there's way more stuff, way more tips is in this UCAT guide. And you're gonna be like, okay, how much does this cost? This is absolutely for free. We spent, I'm not even joking when I say hundreds of hours at the Medentors team crafting this, designing it, getting all the tips ready. Um, and it's there for you to use for free. And all you have to do is go on our website and you can download it for free. So everything we've talked about today, VR, QR, and then also DM and SJT is there. If you're absolutely new to the UCAT, you have no idea what's going on, this is the thing that you got to start with. If you started with questions already and you're like getting the hang of it, but then you don't know what the strategies are, this is what the UCAT guide is for. If it's your second time doing the UCAT, like ever, like you did it last year and now you're doing it again, and you're like thinking, what can I do differently? This is the guide for that. So do go on our website, medentors.co.uk/guides. Paper copy wise, no, we don't. We do have some, but it's for our school partners. So if you do want us to visit your school, we could bring them in. But download them, medentors.co.uk/guides. It's all there for you. And we'll pop it also in the chat as well. So there is that for you to download. So if you've got any questions beyond today, you can use that as a resource. And then something else we do is if you're struggling with the subject, we do tuition, go to our website, the academy side, and you can book a free consultation. So if there's a certain subject that you're struggling with, would advise start working on it now. And a couple of you have asked, have we got a group chat? Yep, we do. If you scan the QR code, it will take you to our website, and you can join the group chat. If you also go to medentors.co.uk/links, you should be able to access our group chat. And that's essentially our group chat has hundreds of students on there just chatting daily, asking our mentors for advice. And it's all there for you to use for free. So let us help you through your journey, whether that's the UCAT, the interviews, the personal statement, applying strategically, your GCSEs, your A levels, whatever it is. Do scan the QR code. And I've also put the link in the chat, right? If you can't scan it, it's medentors.co.uk/links. If you go there, you'll be able to join the WhatsApp group chat as well. If you're already on a phone or an iPad and then you can't scan it because you haven't got a second device. So what's next with Medentors, right? Just before our Q&A, we just want to let you guys know what's going on. So today's webinar was the VR and QR, 15th of June. Now it says on there 22nd June DM, that's been moved to the 25th. So decision making has a whole webinar on it on the 25th of June. The sign up link is already on our Eventbrite. Same thing with SJT as well. The SJT is on the 29th of June, And then we have a personal statement webinar coming up in September and other things as well. If you are struggling with the UCAT or you don't know where to start, beyond just these free webinars, we do have our summer intensive, and that starts on the July the 6th. So that includes UCAT, personal statement, supercurriculars, strategic applications. Last year, people increased their points by over 300 on average. And so we've had a good record. What does it involve, the summer intensive? So it's a 6 week program with UCAT sessions with supercurriculars. We go over all the subsections deeply. We go over the niche tips as well, things that top people did to get top scores, not just get average scores, but get top scores. There's also you'll be allocated a group mentor. So Kushi is one of those group mentors as well, who will help you with your personal statement, will help you with your UCAT, and if you also opt in for the premium package, will help you with your strategic applications and interviews. So there's a lot there. So if you are looking for sort of one-to-one support and also having more consistent sessions during the summer intensive is for that. There is also a super curricular project. Some people don't know what super curriculars are. It's the things that will, the research that goes beyond A levels in that medicine or dentistry perspective. And the thing with that is that's what puts you in the top 5% of applicants, that no one really does super curriculars except those top 5% of people. So we help you with doing a project, with doing some research, and with your group as well. So that's all sorted for you. And there's also more resources. So if you are interested in that, do go on our website /summer intensive, so medentors.co.uk/summer intensive, or scan the QR code. If you are from a widening participation background, there are discounts available. Just message us on WhatsApp, and there are also bring a friend discounts. So if you're interested in that, there is that opportunity for you guys if you need it. Now, we've gone through a lot today with QR and VR and tips and that sort of thing, and I can imagine there are a lot of questions. So we're opening up the Q&A panel. Me and Kushu will answer your questions for the rest of the session. So if you've got any questions related to, how does the UCAT work? How do you sit it? How do you book it? All of that will be able to help. And also, we also do have a lot of carousels coming up on our Instagram, which will give tips every single week on the UCAT. So do follow that if you're interested. But without further ado, any questions? No question is stupid at all. We'll be happy to answer. So one question is, do you recommend booking UCAT at the end or beginning of the summer? Kushi, what do you think?
So I sort of did it at the end of summer, just before my school started. I think it gave me enough time to spend that summer preparing, because I booked a holiday at the start of summer, then I need to come back and prepare. So I think it depends on when you have the most amount of time or when you can spend enough time preparing. Just be careful, like think about whether once school starts, are you going to be able to give yourself enough time? Will you be tired? Just sort of think about that. So you can sort of do it in summer or towards the end of it if you've already started preparing, or you think you have like 6 to 8 weeks to prepare.
Another question is, what do you do once you experience a plateau in your scores? This is something that happens to everyone. And what I will say is, the UCAT is tough, it's traumatic, and you feel like you're not capable of doing anything anymore. But with that plateau, you need to really sit down and you need to analyze the things that you're doing. And when I mean analyze the time, the accuracy, analyze where you're spending your time, where you're wasting your time. Are there certain questions that you're getting wrong consistently, like syllogisms or argument evaluation in DM? Are there certain habits that you're doing that you shouldn't be doing, or certain habits that you can put in to help you sort of go past that plateau? And there always will be. There will be things. And sometimes you need someone to help you point that out. Kizia has asked how much is the summer intensive. So the basic package, the standard package is the minimum that we offer, which is 149, and then the premium is 249. And you can see on our Eventbrite all the things that it offers. Um, it's sort of the one-to-one support. You get more one-to-one support with the premium. You get a strategic applications call, a personal statement review as well, and some interview support. So there's a lot there. Go on the Eventbrite and you should be able to sort of look. It's got all the details there for you. Someone has asked, do you get paper to use when working out during the UCAT? There has been a couple of questions about the UCAT in what does it look like? So you have a clock on your screen. It's not an analog clock that you're looking at above or whatever. It's on the screen, and it's not 2 hours per se. It's timed for each subsection. So VR's 22 minutes allocated. Once VR's finished, once that time is finished, it's finished. You can't go back to it again. Same thing with DM, QR, SJT. In terms of paper, you don't get paper per se, but you get like a little whiteboard thing that you can there's like a it's not just one singular whiteboard, it's like a sheets of whiteboards as well. And you get a pen with it. And it's a computer exam, so it's keyboard and mouse. And you don't get a physical calculator. You use a calculator on screen, and you don't use your mouse to hover, right? Some people hover and they click on individual buttons for their calculator. Don't do that. What you can do is you can use the numbers, the number pad on your keyboard or the numbers at the top, and you can type those numbers in. And you can also do plus, minus, multiply, whatever. But yeah, my teacher said that if the personal statement is really, really good, the unis can offer a lower grade. Kushi, is that true?
I don't think they'd look in at the personal statement to like lower your grade. So no.
What are the different tips techniques used for different types of VR questions? People use the same scan strategy for both types. Yes, means so just use that. Do you think if I go on holiday and come back to do my UCAT, I will lose my skill? Kushi, what do you think?
I think it depends on how much time you have after your holiday and how much time you're going on holiday for. Like I went on holiday and then I came back and I had a few weeks before my UCAT. So I had that time to build my skill. So it really depends on the length of your holiday and how long you've prepared for and how long you have before your exam. Give yourself enough time before your exam, I would say.
You know the part in SJT where it has important, minor importance, not important. What does that mean? How much should you take into consideration? All that with SJT, come to our webinar on the 29th. It's absolutely for free. And then if you want support beyond that, there is the summer intensive, and we go into depths with these things. There is also the UCAT guide for free, which goes into this sort of thing as well. Eilish. I did a diagnostic mock around 9 days ago, and I got 1500 band three, and I've been doing questions since. I've got 1540 Bantu after doing a mock today, and I feel like I'm not improving properly. My test is July 31st. I only have 6.5 weeks. How do I target my revision? I'll be honest, if you're at 1500s, and you're doing mocks, something's wrong. You need to look at doing the mini mocks. You need to look at the analysis. There's certain ways of analyzing things. You need to look at the timings. Where are you spending your time? You might be spending a lot of time on certain QR questions when you need to distribute your time more evenly. You might be spending a lot of time on logic puzzles and decision making. You're spending 3, 4 minutes on it, and then you have no time at the end for probability and Venn diagrams. So there's a lot for you to take there. You need to analyze using just look at the time. When I mean analyze, just look at the time. Where's your time going? Where's the accuracy going? Because 1500, you've got a long way to improve. And it's still early days. 6.5 weeks is still early days. You should not be doing mocks this early. You should be doing mini mocks and practicing questions and increasing your accuracy and decreasing the amount of time you spend per question. Kushi, have you got anything to add to that, to what she
Yeah,
said?
when you went through those mocks, just see the question type that you struggled with the most. And then when you do the mini mocks as well, um, see if those same question types are coming up again, because you'll be able to identify exactly what the problem is. And you can go back and spend your time doing those questions and learning how to do them.
What are the main keyboard sh shortcuts for the UCAT? Um, Alt N is for
That's
next,
tough.
Alt P is for previous, Alt C is for calculator. Is there anything else? Alt F for flag.
Alt F, flag, yeah.
That's a big one. And there's basically any letter that's underlined in the UCAT, like with one of the buttons, if you Alt plus that. So I think there's Alt V, which is review questions. There's all those functions. Do unis even look at the personal statement? Yeah, they do. But different unis score them different ways. So one of them, like Kiel, will score them, and then another one won't look at them at all. And then most unis will be in the middle of it's just a screening tool. Are you actually applying for medicine and dentistry? Are you actually committed to it? It's just a screening tool. But yeah, they do look at it. Are there any YouTubers that you recommend for techniques? I think Emil Eddy is a very popular one. And yeah, his walkthroughs are really nice, but he doesn't have any techniques per se. He just makes you feel really bad because he looks like he's a genius, and then you're just like, do you know what I mean, Kush? He just feels like he's so
Yeah, he's
smart, and
really
then
good.
you're
Just
yeah.
whizzes through it as
So,
well.
but watching his walkthroughs will help. But what I will say is, watching someone else is not going to mean that you're going to change your behavior. You need to actually analyze what you're doing wrong, um, and implement the fixings of that. All the techniques that we've talked about today and that we'll talk about in the next few webinars are all in the guide, the UCAT guide, the Medentors UCAT guide. You can just download that and you can that could be literally all you need if you want, and that could lead you to increasing your scores. If you're plateauing, you're plateauing. But yeah, is 23 a good score for a mock med squared? I hope you're mocking me. But yeah, that is a very good score. Um, yeah. I am booking tests for 20 August. Haven't started UCAT. I'm worried. Should start now. I hear predictors need to be secured. Yeah, you need to be securing your predictors at 3As. UCAT revision 6 to 8 weeks. Anything else you want to add, Kushi, with that?
Um, that's it, to be honest. Yeah.
Does flagging just highlight the question so you can go back easier? Yeah. So websites. This is a common question. Medify or Medentry? Oh, someone did ask Medic Mentor recommended Medify. It's probably because they have a partnership with Medify. Um, they're both good, honestly. Like we work with both Medify and Medentry. They're both good. They're just question banks. This is a very big misconception, and I had to do the UCAT twice to figure this out. Which is people think, oh, Medentry's more accurate for VR, but Medify is more accurate for QR or something like that. It's not like that. It's because they randomly so not everyone will get the same UCAT exam. People will get a randomized exam. No one will have the same UCAT exam. They get randomized questions. So you might have two sections that are easy for you, two sections that are hard for you, and then your friend might get completely two different hard ones and two easy ones. And that's why people have that discrepancy. Is Medify and Medentry more accurate? They're both the same. They're both there for you to practice. We recommend both. Pick whatever you want. If there's a better discount with Medify or Medentry, if you want to save money, go for that. But yeah, we both are good. I wouldn't go for anything else though, because the other ones are might be a bit more clunky. Medify and Medentry, they're both smooth and nice. They're perfect. They have a lot of analysis. They have a lot of trainers as well. Yeah, we're happy with both. How to balance your time if you're taking retakes in September too? What do you think, Kushi?
Sorry, I was just replying to somebody. What was the question?
How do you balance your time if you're doing retakes or like mocks in September?
Oh, okay. So I think it's really like if you've been given the 6 to 8 weeks, so if you do spend 2 to 3 hours a day doing UCAT, it still gives you enough time in the rest of your day to be doing those other things like preparing for those mocks or those retakes. So yeah, I think if you start early and give like plan your day, spend half of your day, like the 2 to 3 hours doing UCAT, the other half of the day doing the rest of things that you need to. I think you should be okay. You'll have enough time to prepare. And then maybe closer to your exam, starting to focus more on the UCAT side of it.
Right. I think it's past 7 o'clock now, but I would like to thank you all for staying behind. If you got any more burning questions, please just ask us on the WhatsApp community. We're there for you to sort of help you. If you don't know where to find that, it's on our website. It's medentors.co.uk/links. If you go on our Instagram, the WhatsApp is there. Everything's interlinked now. So yeah, just reach out to us if you need any help at all. And yeah, without further ado, thank you guys for staying. If you are looking for the two main resources we would advise, it's our UCAT guide, which is absolutely for free, and the webinars as well over the next 2 weeks, but also the summer intensive. Do have a look at that if you're interested. But thank you guys for coming. Hopefully see you in next Thursday's DM webinar. And for now, bye bye.